Hello, this is Alejandro Bratti, Shanei Born, and CJ Kusler from Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business. Welcome to the Spanish World Network on Cinco TV, channel 250. Please remember to download both the Cinco TV app on the respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Cinco TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TVs, and all smart TVs. Thank you for being here with us. We are going to have a lot of fun. We have two guests this time. It's not always that we have two guests, and I am going to. I know that we are going to enjoy a lot today. Thank you, Beata and Alan, to being here with us, and thank you, CJ and Shanei, for being here. I know that Shanei is in the other side of the world, and she is very late at night. But thank you for being here with us today. This is amazing, and we are going to have a lot of fun. Oh, we don't hear you, Vera. Vera.
It's always fun sorting out the technical difficulties, but we'll get through. It's good. It's good. It's good. We're so happy you're here.
Yeah,
Does it work now?
There we
yeah.
go. Hey.
Oh my goodness, Mamma Mia. Okay, well, welcome from Vancouver. Hello, guys. Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So to start, Viara, let's start with you today. As you know, this show is about believing yourself and believing your business, and the idea is to share a little bit of your life. Okay, some areas of your life where you didn't believe in yourself. We are going to be like interacting between you and Alan today to have like more wisdom of the things that you have to share. From your side, what do you think? Okay, tell us a little bit of who you were, from where you are coming. I know that you are coming from another country, not from Canada. So tell us a little bit of yourself, how you moved to even to Vancouver, and how was that process?
Sure. Well, again, I'm Beata Jirava. The background of mine is from Slovakia, and the particular city is from Bratislava, which is about 80 kilometers away from Vienna. So life there was very different than in North America. We were coming from communist regime, so slightly the opportunities were limited. But again, nevertheless, you're still going with your passion, right? By the way, I love your topic, saying believe. I love it. It is a great concept for today. So what's going on in the world? Well, let me just say, I'll take you back when I was much younger, back from the times when I used to be a professional athlete, and I represented the country for over a decade. It was a beautiful opportunity. But again, those times, although you feel today, oh, what a wonderful thing to do, is it's different how we were raised back home. There was no such a thing for praise or somebody was telling you, good job, good job. My coach would probably never told me a good job, maybe once in 10 years, although I was the number one in my country or representing it for over a decade, broke the records and etc. But the whole idea is that I did it because I loved it. I did it for myself. It felt good. There were times where I didn't even know why I was doing it, but you just kept going. You had that end goal, right? Either to go to Olympics, and yeah. So if the message would be coming from me is, do things as you think it's right for you and it has a right fit. It's just another foundation to what you want to achieve in life. Just don't give up just because somebody doesn't praise you. You don't need it. You can just look at the mirror and you know who you are. And another thing that actually came along is during the high school, I was supposed to graduate. Everything was going very well until my English teacher told me to give up. She simply said, Beata, don't pursue English. You're not good at it. You can't graduate with it. And it was quite disappointing because I was studying another 3-4 languages, but I just loved English. But also I was greatly discouraged, but you kind of kept going, right? You just felt, no, I'm going to prove her otherwise, right? So I have graduated from English. Of course, in Europe, it's very different. You have this audience of 6 people that give you the intimidation kind of status. You're standing right there like a little person in front of them and trying to answer their questions. And I'm not saying I was really good at it. I tried my best, but maybe today I speak a little bit better than my English teacher at that time. So just never give up. Don't give up your dreams. Just pursue it. And maybe that kind of led me to a point where I was taking 2 universities back in Europe, which was quite challenging. And I wanted to improve my English, so I wanted to come to Canada or any other part of the world to kind of learn English better. So I found to come to Vancouver and make the story shorter. I appeared myself after a half a year standing in North Vancouver, which is one part of Vancouver, pouring rain, which is very well known for Vancouver. It's raining a lot here. And I just had 2 suitcases next to me and $100 in my pocket. And I started to cry. I had no place to go. Didn't know how my life will kind of go and how things will evolve. So on that note, I just kind of let it go and just stand there and waited what can happen. And there was a lady on a bus stop, and she literally approached me, gave me a shelter for a couple of months. And that's how I kind of started a little journey in Canada. So never give up. And if you cannot go any further, just reach out. And just one step at a time, right? I have a longer story to go. Things actually shifted. I was going to say something different, but as of yesterday, there was another little hurdle in my life. My son's closest friend took his life away. It was yesterday morning. Because life is taking its course for many people, and it's very difficult for some people. And if I can just say a couple of words to everyone is, find a passion in all this life. We got this as a gift. We got this as finding a purpose in life, right? So whatever that is, if it's a little tiny little thing that you can contribute, find it, look for it. And then it just makes the life much easier to live. Would that be enough?
No, I'm going to go deeper, but really, I want to acknowledge that part that you are saying at the end, because really, the reason for this show is exactly that. If you don't believe in yourself, you are going to even take very bad decisions in your life, and that's one thing that we have learned is like sometimes we don't believe in yourself, but there is somebody that is believing in yourself. You can start to see that person that is believing in yourself, and you can borrow that belief to start to create something better. And that's why we have Alan here, we have Beata, we have CJ, we have Shanei and me. Like, even if you don't believe in yourself, okay, reach to us, and we are going to help you and say to you that we believe in you, no matter the circumstance. And for me, I know that Beata, I would love to know a little bit more on that moment that you were talking about. You were like in the rainy Vancouver waiting, but a little bit like before of that, how you can think like why you moved to Vancouver and you were like, okay, with your luggage and only $100 there, ready to cry or do whatever, because that is exactly maybe how that person was feeling, like there is nothing else in this world for me. So when you are feeling like that, it was exactly what maybe you were feeling, like even crying at that moment. Somebody saw you and said, like, no, I believe in you, and that lady gave you her home and a place to stay for a while.
That's right. So initially, when I came to Canada, I came to study here. So I paid for private school, wanted to stay here for half a year. But I wanted to get to know you. I wanted to get to know Vancouver. So I started to interact with locals, started to work here, did all sorts of jobs, and got myself quite humble, because back home, you kind of build yourself to a certain level. You were on a TV, you were on a magazine. Suddenly you come to Vancouver and you're like washing dishes in a bakery or cleaning people's homes. And that's okay. While I was doing it, I met a lot of other people and created my network and connections. And what happened is I lost the job where I was working in North Vancouver and West Vancouver. And And at that time, until that point, I was staying at my uncle's home, but I felt my time expired. It's time to kind of move on, and I can't just stay at their place all the time. So I, I kind of felt that I needed to find something else to do. So I just didn't know. It was very unclear to me. So I kind of couldn't kind of, I don't know. I just kind of stood there and I just waited what's next. And sometimes it's just that one little moment that I was standing there because I had to take my belongings. And okay, I took my belongings. Now started to pour rain, and that's all I have saved money is $100. And now what? So you kind of, and that's exactly, and that really helped me, because during my life in last 20 years, that incident that happened or experience, I was able to help shelter children. So when their children, they ran away from home, and my sons knew about them, they just literally took them to our home and they stayed with us. Or we had a mother, she was going through ugly divorce and she wanted to stay with us as a shelter. Again, you know, once you've been helped by others, you love to reciprocate it to others back.
Yeah, wow.
And if I can just say another thing is, sometimes your career also changes based on, or if you're flexible to change things based on what's happening in life, then it's okay. I had no idea 2 years ago, actually today, that I will be doing respiratory. Just a sec. I'm very sorry.
No,
I didn't know that I'm going to be doing respiratory wellness clinic. It's just happened. I own engineering company for about 15 years. But when pandemic came, I felt, okay, you can't just tell me I have to be shunned in a corner in my house and no solutions. And what do I do? So I started to search. I started to look for the problem solving and finding how I can help for my wellness, for my lungs. And I found this respiratory clinic with the dry soul therapy. And I said, okay, I'll buy it. So I bought it, and I said, well, I'll buy it for me, for my family, for my friends. So we have at least outlet to get better. And within a month, it grew to over 200 clients. So again, totally shift in career. Um, and if something works and something is true, has true healing modalities, then you don't really need to try hard. It's just again, it was the right thing, right at the right time, and but the fundamental has to be that you truly want to help. And if that is the case and you have the tools, then things just happen, right? And today I own clinic, expanding to another clinic. Was very fortunate to got to know Alan. He came as a great blessing to my life. Through him, I got to met a lot of medical scientists, researchers, and I am none of that. So I look up to these men and people who had a huge impact in society and humanity. So, Alan, you probably can take it from here if you want to. But like I said, there's a lot of amazing people out there. You just have to open your eyes but be willing to help and to do something, problem solving, etc. Yeah.
yes, and thank you, Beata, because that's like a good way to close it. Is a little bit of what you are doing, and we're going to be interacting now with Alan. But just to say something, it's you came from nothing to even on a lot of clinics and a lot of places to really help people to improve their health, and that's why,
Yeah.
and because you have that mission, you start to connect with people like Alan. And right now I'm going to ask to move to Alan, because I agree that Alan is a blessing for a lot of people, and that is also the reason to have you here, because we want to hear your voice, Alan. I know that there is a lot of people that is waiting for those words that you need to say today. uh, I want first again to listen to who was Alan before, like started you all these things, and you have been working with amazing teams, amazing guys that were helping you to create things that really are helping the humanity. So, but I want to start first with who you were before you started to believe in yourself.
Well, thank you for having me on this call and this podcast. And hopefully you can hear me fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
So who I was before I am what I am now is a really good question, and I appreciate the question. I'm the youngest of 4 boys in my family. My mother was, when I was 5 years old, my mother was suddenly a single mom of 4 boys. So I had the experience of having a mother who really took control of things. And she always had a business in her own home, but she was left with a John Deere dealership to run. And back in the 50s, of course, that wasn't something that women were allowed to do. So she had to divest of all her business interests and figure out how to raise her 4 boys.
Wow.
Because I was young, I wasn't in school at that time. So I went and lived with a great auntie in a different city, completely different city, for a period of time as things settled down. And while I was there, I was exposed to some rather violent activities there. And as a young child, I had no way to emotionally process or logically process what I had seen. And I got very physically ill. My great auntie took me by the hand and we went down the street and we went into this little store. I had no idea what it was. There was a man there and he gave me a little liquid in a little plastic container, and I drank that and I felt better. And I said to my auntie, someday that's what I'm going to do. I am going to take people's pain away. I completely forgot about that and became a hockey referee. And do you know why hockey referees wear striped shirts?
Why?
They're in jail.
It's so where they know to shoot. It's so they know where to shoot the puck.
Oh man.
It's like you're the target out there. So I became a hockey referee, but incidentally along the way, this young friend of my brother approached me and said, I can't leave my job at the local drugstore until I find my replacement. Would you become my replacement? And so I actually got this job as the delivery boy in a drugstore at age 16. And honestly, it felt like I had gone home. I do not remember saying to my great auntie at 5 years old that I wanted to do, be a pharmacist. I don't think I could spell the word, but when I got there, I immediately knew this is what I wanted to do. And so I did that. The challenge was I was considered a slow student. It's kind of a bad student because back in the day, there was no way for people to diagnose dyslexia and those types of learning disabilities that we have now, tools and programs to help people. So I actually took a very long time to get my degree. I took about 6.5 years to get my pharmacy degree. But once I learned the process to get through school, I took pharmacy, then I took geriatric pharmacy. I took pharmacognosy. Pharmacognosy is the actual making drugs from plants, as we used to do many years ago. Then I also took courses in sports nutrition, just general nutrition, and finished up with a program in energy medicine. So I had a broad range of things. And I'm saying this to let people know, I realize now what I was doing at the time was really trying to find what my purpose was, as Beata said, but how could I believe in myself? So I trusted in the medical profession. I trusted in that whole system, if you will, until I got very, very ill. I got ill to the point where I was not allowed to be in the hospital because they didn't know what I had.
No.
So it was okay for me to be home with my wife and children with whatever it was that I had. But I literally was given approximately 5 days to live.
Wow.
And so when I woke up,
when was that, Alan?
Pardon me?
When was that?
So I was 30 years old at the time. So just really starting in life, starting my career as a pharmacist, really getting things going. So when I woke up on day 6 and day 7, I said to the doctor, "What happened?" why am I here? And he said something that actually set me on the course that I'm on now. Although it took me a little while, once again, to get to where I am, and it took a few detours and so on. But he said, your immune system kicked in. And I went,
Wow.
how does that work? How does that work? What do you mean my immune system kicked in? I wasn't trained in that. I'm a drug therapy expert. I'm an expert in a lot of areas, a geriatric pharmacy, pediatric pharmacy. I'm an expert in a lot of these areas, but it all has to do with therapies that are protocoled out by other people. We just follow protocols. So what do you mean my immune system kicked in? And he said, well, I can't really explain it to you. But I will tell you that you need to take vitamin C, high dose vitamin C and vitamin B the rest of your life to help your immune system. So I began to study the immune system. And literally the last 15 years of my life has been totally focused on how we can optimize our immune system.
Wow.
What came out of that, Alejandro and Shanei and CJ, is the fact that I now believe in myself as a healer. I know that you and I and everybody else on this planet, if they will take the time to give their body what it needs, we have the most dynamic pharmacy, hospital, medical team right inside of our body. It's prepared to go to work. We don't think about this. We get a cut on our finger. We don't sit there and think, okay, I need to create a collagen halograft first, and then I need to have some inflammation. We never consciously think about what it takes to heal that cut on our finger. If you have a broken bone, we put it in a cast. We never think about it again until we get the cast off. So we have this incredible power within ourselves to heal ourselves. And I'm of the mind now that really there is not a disease on the planet that we cannot influence with believing in our own power. The systems have been in place, and we don't have time in this conversation to talk about the 5 systems that are in our body that we all got, every one of us got. There's 5 systems that we got to help, to protect us, to help us, to keep us alive. But I would like to focus on a couple of those, if that's okay with you.
That's perfect.
Okay, so in my study, I discovered we would not be here had it not been for the fact that single cell organisms somehow learned, we don't know how they learned, but they learned how to gather a certain group of amino acids together and make a molecule called glutathione. So think about put your tie on, or think about glue, because it's a molecule that really holds life together in our body. Glutathione is essential to life. As a matter of fact, it was discovered in 1888, but in 1931, there was a Nobel Prize given out for the activity of glutathione in our body. There's over 250 processes that glutathione is responsible for. But what they said in the Nobel Prize is that glutathione is actually coincident with life. In other words, no glutathione, no life. Almost every plant and animal on the planet utilizes glutathione. And what I learned from that was the first job of glutathione is actually inside the cell. So health actually starts inside of each and every individual cell. So we have, the numbers vary. People say we have 50 trillion or 70 trillion. We have a lot of cells. There's a whole bunch of them. And what I'd like people to know is we also have, whatever that number is, we have an equal number of cells in our bacterial flora. So if we have 50 billion cells that we call our body, we also have a supporting cast of 50 billion cells in our intestinal tract. Why is that important? Because 90% of our DNA information is actually held by the bacteria in our body. There's a lot of information now about leaky gut and problems with the gut and so on. Why is that a challenge? Is because it holds so much of our DNA. It holds so much of our messenger information to help us stay healthy. And glutathione plays a huge role inside of our gut, inside the cell. So let's think way back 3.5 billion years ago. Single cell organisms were plentiful. They just could not gather together because they had no mechanism by which to protect themselves from the reactive oxygen species, or the what we now call free radicals, from the other cells and even from themselves. So glutathione is what made it possible for single cell organisms to first protect themselves inside. So if you think about a cell, it really only has three things to do. Number one is to create heat. Every cell creates heat or energy. Number two, it creates protein. Everything we do, I'm moving my hands. That's just the alternating, an adjustment of proteins in my body that allows me to move my hands. Everything we do involves protein. So we need to make heat, we need to make protein, and then we need to replicate. And when we replicate, we want a clean, nice blueprint of our DNA to replicate and make 2 new cells from 1 cell. So glutathione literally prevents the cell from burning itself up in the generation of heat and in the making of protein. It also prevents, shelters the DNA. So when your cell wants to replicate, think of it as a sleeve on your jacket here. It pulls that sleeve back and completely exposes your DNA. Your complete genetic code is completely exposed. And that's why viruses can get in and get in your DNA and start to replicate. That's where cancer can make a mutation. It's when our DNA is exposed. So glutathione's job is to protect, keep minerals and things that would cause an alteration in our DNA, keep them sequestered so that our cell literally can replicate. And I'm making this kind of simple, hopefully, for people to understand with a little observation. So that's DNA, that's glutathione's first job. Now its big job, so we have intracellular glutathione. On a grander scale, glutathione has 3 things it's responsible for. It's called the master antioxidant. That means that every other antioxidant that we consume, whether it's from fruit, vegetables, wherever we get it from, supplements, as soon as we put it in our body, there's a corresponding either elevation or de-elevation of glutathione. And what that means is we load our body with antioxidants. So for a while we thought, oh, antioxidants are just the greatest thing on the planet. We really load up our body with antioxidants. We're going to have a corresponding increase in cellular and blood glutathione to cool that down, to take down that oxidative stress that we suddenly, the amount of antioxidants that we have in our body. So this is a big thing. So it's the master of antioxidant. It's the master of detoxification. And this is where right now it's become really, really important that we elevate, optimize our levels of glutathione. And I need to change the word elevate, because we got our glutathione when we were born. We got it from our mother. And what we can do is we can optimize its function. It's very difficult to elevate or increase our glutathione levels. It's just the function that we can optimize of the glutathione that we do have. So we want to optimize that. In the detoxification process, it will literally take heavy metals like cadmium, zinc, aluminum, or aluminium, depending on which country you're from. It will actually sequester those and make them into water-soluble molecules to be flushed out of your body. It has a direct impact on lipolysis in your liver. Lipolysis, which is the burning of fat or the utilization of fat, a breakdown in lipolysis in your liver is the root cause of all metabolic disease, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. Any metabolic disease has its root cause in a lack of the ability of our liver to handle lipolysis. And glutathione has a direct activity on lipolysis. And then the other thing it does It's the master of inflammation. So when we have an inflammatory response, glutathione will send out messenger signals to our killer T cells, our phagocytes, our lymphocytes, all the other defense mechanisms we have at a cellular level, and tell them, hey, come on, we need to gather together, and we're going to send the whole army in to our body. So glutathione is really good. So here's what I've learned. People will market glutathione. If it's glutathione that's made outside your body, our body doesn't recognize it. So Alejandro, I can't give you my glutathione. Okay. I can't give my glutathione to Beata. I can't give it to CJ. I can't give it to Shanei. I can't give it to somebody. My glutathione was made for me to protect me from the things that I've been exposed to through my life, the stresses that I've been exposed to, the chemicals, the elements, where I live here. It's spring right now, and we're going to be covered with pollen and blossoms and blooms, and it's beautiful, but every one of those things can cause a reaction in our body. So my glutathione is going to be different than yours. So when you take a glutathione capsule, or if you take glutathione by inhalation or glutathione by IV, you're putting what's called exogenous glutathione in your body. It will have an immediate impact. However, glutathione is genetically controlled through two enzymes. And when you keep putting glutathione into your body, what you do is you tell your cells, hey, you can close down the enzyme production of glutathione. We're just going to give it to you. That long-term is not a good thing. So we need to optimize glutathione the way nature does it, by providing cysteine, which is the rate-limiting amino acid. And then we can also stimulate the enzyme at the cell level, which is called glutamylcysteol synthetase. That's as much science as I'm going to say. But that enzyme, if that enzyme doesn't work, we can't make glutathione. So what I have done in all my research, I'm just going to sum it up in 2 minutes here, is that I've learned how to literally provide your body with the rate-limiting amino acid, and also provide it with something that's actually taken from orange peels. And orange peels happen to be the largest material in compost piles around the world. There's more orange peels than any other thing. We can take orange peels and take the limonoids out of those, and particular limonoids, there's 9, but 2 of them in particular will stimulate that enzyme. So we can modulate, we can literally increase the function of the glutathione that we do have. At one time it was thought we could build glutathione, but unfortunately that doesn't turn out to be so true. We can stimulate a glutathione response in our body, like I said, by piling it with antioxidants or other things. A bacteria or virus will also stimulate a glutathione response. But what we want to do, and if I can just give this little illustration, think of your glutathione as a teeter-totter, seesaw, whatever people call it. If you've ever been on one with some mean person, they've kept you bouncing in the air for a long time, gets really uncomfortable, very aggravating. That's what that's what autoimmune disease actually is. Your seesaw is like this. It's just manifesting as something out here. So it's manifesting as arthritis, MS. We have hundreds of names for things that have this wonky immune response. In medicine, what we try to do is we try to bend this down. We try to get rid of the symptom of the response. What we do in optimizing the glutathione function is we balance out glutathione. So the antigen part, everything can work together. And so it took me a long time to get there. It took me almost dying to realize my purpose in life was not to hand out drugs to people. My purpose is to educate them to start at the cellular level, deal with their cells, because healthy cells gives healthy organs, and healthy organs will give us a healthy organism.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is huge, Alan. And okay, I don't know, Shanei or CJ, do you have any comments on this? Because I want also.
Yes, this is amazing, Alan. And I mean, how did you How did you two come together? Like, how did you meet? And was it some sort of product that you guys developed together that people use in your clinic? What's happening there?
Well, I can speak to that. So I have a friend who's a 9-time gold medalist in the Police World Fire Games.
Wow.
He's a coach, and Beata happened to be a coach at Simon Fraser University in British Columbia. And my friend Don Alamersh, who I was helping optimize glutathione, because in athletes, well, in people, but mostly in athletes, optimizing glutathione will give them an 11 to 14% increase in strength and endurance. It's legal,
Wow.
and that could be the difference between a silver, gold, or medaling at all by that amount of optimization of strength and endurance. So I had been giving Dawn glutathione for a number of years, and Dawn said to me one day, "I've met this really amazing person. She's opening these clinics. She has this idea for, giving people options and alternatives, and she's really a powerful person who's, standing up on her own, and you need to meet her." So I can tell you this about Don. He's never introduced me to somebody that hasn't been beneficial in my life. So as soon as he said that, within a week, I made arrangements to go out to her salt therapy clinic, and we met, and we just sat down inside a salt room and started to talk, and discovered we shared so many common values, common goals for people moving ahead. Wonderful question. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I agree. He literally appeared in one of my clinics and he said, "Oh, I've been sent here." I'm like, "Whoa, really?" And it's just the way he was talking about people, what he wanted to do with the humanity. And at the end of the day, that's why we are here for. We are not here to take our fancy cars and what we have accomplished. Yeah, we all created success, but how do you justify the success? How do you justify love? All these kind of things. We have really shifted all that to the level of a very materialistic world. So back again to what Alan is doing, and many of the people that we started to work with, again, they are scientific. They have a proof. They have a modalities, and we're just trying to share it. They are tools. They are resources. There are things that we can do. And this is just one of them. And yeah, that's how we met.
That's awesome.
Could I just mention one thing, because I think it's really critical, important that people understand what I'm talking about. Has become actually a group of scientists, 2,500 of us, petitioned the FDA in the United States to make glutathione optimization a protocol. Anybody that's sick is going to have low glutathione. So we wrote a letter, signed it, sent it to the FDA, and then COVID came along. Their response was to take the only drug that actually can modulate glutathione off the market.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
That's sinister. Okay.
That's sinister. So N-acetylcysteine, which is the only drug clinically proven to have an effect on glutathione levels, was immediately taken off, like in March of 2020, was taken off the market. But they can't take the proteins and so on that I use. They can't take those off the market because we get them from food. So we're not worried about them. They're not going to stop you from eating. And as long as I can get you eating the right things, I can optimize your glutathione. But in 2019, the Nobel Prize was out for use of hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Now, if you understand a little bit about hyperbaric oxygen therapy, what we're doing is taking a part of your body. It could be a knee, it could be your mind, it could be your brain, but some part of your body, and we're putting it under an intense pressure, and we're driving oxygen literally into the tissue. When you do that, you create a massive amount of reactive oxygen species. Now, I want to make people understand what free radicals and reactive oxygen species actually means to them, because I really don't think, I think in the mainstream it's become this thing, we need to, reduce oxygen. We need to eat lots of antioxidants and blah, blah, blah. It's got lost. It's really got lost. So reactive oxygen species are very unstable oxygen molecules. And what they do is they're looking desperately to be neutralized. Our body doesn't want free oxygen. We use oxygen to breathe, but our body doesn't really want these free oxygen molecules floating around. So they're desperate to find a hydrogen, to find something to attach to. And in their desperate attempt to do that, they will actually scar the inside of our blood vessels, or they'll scar the inside of our kidneys. They'll scar the inside of our lungs. They cause little micro cuts everywhere. So the reason we want to reduce the reactive oxygen species is to reduce this micro damage in our body. It's not like cutting your finger, but a little tiny interruption. The muscles in our cardiovascular system are so small. Everything's so tiny. We're talking things, we have to see through a microscope that can get damaged, but those then have a continual inflammatory response. So it's that subclinical inflammation that ultimately leads to what we will, at some point in life, diagnose as something. Now, who does this happen to? High intensity athletes, 8 times more likely to get diabetes than a normal person. Even somebody who's eating terrible diet. A high intensity athlete creates tons of reactive oxygen species in their body. Somebody who's already sick is creating reactive oxygen species. But when in the hyperbaric oxygen, we know that it's dynamic. It will really assist with healing if we can control the reactive oxygen species. So the researchers that were doing this research in hyperbaric oxygen therapy, they came to the group that I was working with, and they said, how can we do this? We don't want to do it with drugs. We can't give drugs while we're doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And so we actually supplied an amino acid based product. They were supplied with an amino acid based product. Once again, that can't be taken off the market. And that product was absolutely dynamic in reducing the reactive oxygen species. And that's actually what led to them getting the Nobel Prize for the use of hyperbaric oxygen therapy, was hyperbaric oxygen therapy with the ability to reduce or control reactive oxygen species. So that's why there's such a push now by clinicians, people, researchers like myself, etc. We need to help people understand the importance of this one molecule in your body called glutathione. And it's involved in 250 processes in your body. In autistic children or people with ADHD, if you optimize their glutathione function, that glutathione can actually substitute for serotonin, dopamine, some of the things that they might not be able to make on a regular basis. So you can actually calm their brain down. We did a clinical trial in 2017, 56 autistic children, optimized their glutathione, and we saw tremendous results in the ATAC score. It's 10 things they score in the ATAC score. We actually moved all 10 in a positive direction. It's the only thing they've ever used that's moved all 10 at the same time in a positive direction. So the importance of this cannot be under it can't be under talked about. It can't be underestimated. We need to educate the world. And I thank you so much for this platform and giving me a voice and giving me the time. I'm so appreciative.
And quick question, Alan, because I don't know if it takes a lot of time or it's a little one, but just if you can give us some advices on how to optimize the glutathione will be amazing, because now I am like, okay, what I have to do? This is great, I understand, but what I need to do, I don't know.
Well, in our first research, we were using actually, and this is research that was done in Canada. Actually, the Canadian government and a couple of foundations like the Molson Foundation committed $100 million to this research. So this is big research, 42 clinical trials. We discovered that you could use particular parts of whey protein. It had to be pasteurized at a particular heat. You couldn't pasteurize it at the regular heat or you would kill it. Had to be handled very gently. It works, but it's kind of obnoxious to work with. Then another researcher discovered just a formula of amino acids. And then I recently, during COVID, we put together a formula that contains neem, it contains the limonoids, and it contains the rate-limiting amino acid. It's called Bioimmune. I've just had it actually for 3 weeks, so it's brand new. 2 capsules a day is the dose on that. You take it with food. That supplies your body with what you need to optimize your glutathione. So right now I'm doing a small trial with that. I've taken people, particularly with respiratory problems, because they're kind of easy to find at this moment. There's quite a few of them around. And so I've taken a number of those people, over a dozen. They all have difficulty breathing. I've given them the product, and we've varied the dosage a little bit. But in every last case, we've seen VO2 increases of 20-30% within 72 hours. So wow. Someone that's got a real difficult time breathing, where this is going to be really useful is, I don't know if you know this, but firemen have an 80% chance of becoming cancerous at some point in their life. So, people that the first responders, etc. So anyway, we do have a product, Alejandro, called Bioimmune. We would definitely look at getting it to you in Mexico for sure.
That's amazing. And do you have, but do you have like an idea? For example, this channel is going like to a lot of countries at the same time. So what is that maybe a couple of things that they can even eat or do to start to improve that a little bit?
Absolutely, for sure. So there are the amino acid cysteine is very difficult to get into our body. It needs a carrier. That carrier is actually found in eggs. So if people don't mind using raw eggs, say in a shake, if they're making a protein shake in the morning or whatever, if you put some raw eggs in there, you can actually get some cysteine from eggs. You can get it from broccoli. Unfortunately, it takes a lot of broccoli. You can get it from asparagus, but if people are eating their cruciferous vegetables, that's helpful in glutathione. Also, some particular nuts. So Brazil nuts, for instance, have a lot of selenium in them. And selenium is actually a trigger mechanism in your body to help with the manufacture of glutathione. So that's something that's readily available, I think, to everybody in the world. It's just Brazil nuts, certainly broccoli, asparagus, any cruciferous vegetable, raw eggs. I don't recommend this, but meat is actually a good source of cysteine as well. But unfortunately, it pretty much has to be raw to eat it. And there is no cysteine in fish. Like I know people eat sushi and eat, lots of raw fish. Unfortunately, there is no bioavailable cysteine in fish, so that doesn't work. And I'm not one to eat raw meat. So if somebody does, though, there is some cysteine in that.
And if I can add to a couple of things, is if people have respiratory issues, and that's another thing that I have found, and I was very fortunate. So thank you, by the way, Alan. It was really, really extensive way of explaining things which people should hear. Also, I have resulted within this year and a half in this project. I participated in a pilot project for respiratory wellness. We were working with England and USA and Canada. And we have found about 243% increase on a respiratory wellness just through the salt therapy. So try not to take in a negative way, but underestimating the power of salt is something that we should be looking into. It's nature. It's when you go to the ocean, exposure to the ocean. How does it help us? Remember when you're sick and you have a sinus infection, the doctors tell you, well, use a saline salt solution to take the inflammation away, or gurgle with salt if you have sore throat. I have found people would come to my clinic with the oxygen tank, have it plugged in their nose for 2 months because they had COVID before. They would walk in for the first time in whole 2 months. They were able to breathe in a sold room. And that night they were able to sleep throughout the whole night. Not all of them, but many. We would have young children as young as babies coming there, because what do you do to a baby? What can you give? What kind of medicine can you give a child? So it's limited. A lot of elderly are also very sensitive. How many medications can you give them, right? So this is just a supplementation for adding a greater value to your lungs because it's antiviral. Salt is antiviral, antibacterial, and antifungal. So if anybody has any access to salt rooms anywhere around the world or have access to an ocean, just use it. We are already making a device. It's going to be one portable salt device, which you would just push the button and you can take it wherever you are in the world. And it grinds the salt. You breathe the salt. It's the powder coming out of it, just really, really fine. And you just breathe it when you have an attack or when you're feeling something is going on in your lungs and you're traveling. So things are coming your way, guys. I just wanted to say that there's a lot of modalities out there, and people like Alan and other scientists we're working with are just incredible.
Wow, that is amazing to hear the healing properties of salt. Like, I know that, if you need some healing with your sinuses and stuff, that you can actually use salt. But can you explain a little bit about? I know we're getting kind of short on time, but what exactly is a salt room for those people that don't really know what it is, and how do you get healing through that?
Sure. So people would be entering either rooms or booths, which people can have access to either locally through some wellness centers, or they literally order and buy the booth, like if people would buy infrared sauna. You can buy salt booth sauna, right? So you would enter this room, which now is because of pandemic is now localized for given family only. So it's not a huge space because in Europe we actually have salt caves. My country alone has over 1,000 natural caves. And a lot of doctors would be sending patients to salt caves, literally for any respiratory issues, just like my dad used to go to the rooms there. So anyhow, when you enter the rooms, you go there, you sit there. The salt is literally all around you. It's a Dead Sea salt from Israel on the walls, on the ground. And we have a device that grinds the salt, which is a pharmaceutical graded salt. It disperses into outside the room and you just breathe. Yeah, and you're there about 30 minutes or so, and that's what it needs to do. It's antibiotic, antibacterial, antifungal, and just helps people with allergies, asthma, bronchitis, COPD. Yeah.
Oh,
Amazing.
CJ, do you want to say something just to finish and close today?
Yeah, I'd like to dig in. Hopefully, we can speak to both of you again. But something I'm seeing a crossover because, Alan, as you shared about your friend Don, the athletic side where there's really a high need for repair, and then even on non-athletic side where there's sickness and dis-ease and the high need for repair in our bodies there. Just dealing that seems to be a cross-pollination of a need for branched chain amino acids, really for the healing properties in both athletes and non-athletes, and the healing that can come from what I think I'm hearing is undenatured whey protein that's cold filtered rather than having all the nutrients stripped away. I mean, I feel like there's so much more to explore, but it's very interesting to me to see how those who are sick, those who have different health issues, and then athletes, how rather than being separated, they both can benefit from the properties of what you're talking about. So I'd love to explore that more. Hopefully we get to talk again. But we're really very grateful for having you here today. And there's a lot to think about in this. So
I'd love to talk about it more too, for sure.
Just remember, believe in yourself, guys. Just believe that everything is possible.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Alan and Beata. Really, this was amazing, and it's like CJ is saying, and Shanei. Really, I believe that we started like to dig a little bit of what all the power and all the things that we can be sharing. For sure, we will be connecting very soon because there is a lot of things that we need to continue creating awareness on the world, and this is amazing because that is exactly why we have this program. It's believe in yourself. There is a solution even inside of yourself to heal and to improve your life. So thank you very much again. And this show can be also heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out spanglishworld.ca For all the news and programming in Spanglish World, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you, guys. See you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.